Welcome back to the PvP Live Studios here in Frisco, Texas. We're moving into our third and final match of the night, and it's a pretty good one between Zalae and Powder. I'm really excited to see what these guys bring to the table because it's anyone's guess between these two.
Yeah, I mean, this is where it all happens in this match. These guys are going to fight it out and find out exactly who's going to be setting the pace here. I think both of these guys want to be the aggressor in one way or another, but how are they going to attack? I mean, Zalae could very easily be coming from a control side of things, but at the same time, he could easily be pushing the pressure. And Powder's in that exact same situation. A lot of mind games in this one, so this first game really sets the tone.
Yeah, I expect to see some mid-range decks from some of these guys. Kind of as a hedge, you know, I can be aggressive, but if my opponent is aggressive, I can take that away from him. We're going to find out right now in the first game between Powder and Zalae.
Yeah, this match can be absolutely devastating. Zalae kind of going back to, something he's very much known for is Warrior. He's loved to play this deck, and he's played it in kind of a different fashion than you've seen a lot of people typically play it in. You talk about his mana utilization and it looking a little bit lower than average. He's always hunting for ways to kill you that you don't necessarily expect. His range will often appear weak because he's not using all of his mana, and that's one of the ways he gets you.
Yeah, sometimes he just absolutely gets you with you getting the wrong read off of his hands. Zalae, pretty good opener here, and it looks like Powder is going to be playing a rogue deck. We're going to get his end of the hand up as soon as the client bug gets itself worked out a little bit here.
We're going to have that up as quickly as possible. In the meantime, Zalae going to be very patient. Love that he's something else that we've seen a lot of players do is kind of just develop Fiery War Axe very early on and have it sit there. But he knows in this matchup that his life total is a very big talking point. If he can get just completely out of range of everything that Powder can throw at him, he can easily win this game.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually, you saw him kind of pause there for a second. He might have been thinking about armoring up instead of playing this Acolyte of Pain. That's how important it is in this matchup. The Rogue deck is sometimes not actually have enough damage left in it once you've killed a bunch of their minions to actually kill you. We've seen this here on HPL. We saw, I think, I'm trying to remember who it was. He got to like 42 armor in his game.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely happened before. Powder going to answer this straight away, and then going to coin out this SI7 agent. He needs to get some pressure rolling early, but this is going to open up the window of opportunity for Zalae to take full advantage of what's happening now.
Yeah, he's going to be able to develop a Death Spite if he wants to pick this off. Again, this looks like a pretty controlling version of a Warrior deck, but this could still have the Grim Patron combos. I'm a little bit more skeptical on that now that we've seen a shield block, though.
Well, we saw the shield slam, so we know that shield block is likely to be in here as well, but really the telling part is that Dr. Boom and Ironbeak Owl are in this hand, and then sort of the way that, we didn't see anything on the mulligan. He chose to play it a little bit slower in terms of his development side of things. I fully expect this to be Control Warrior. I mean, this is honestly a pretty strong read here. You saw Powder actually wince when he saw the Fiery War Axe. Zalae knows that against a player like Powder, you can kind of play these long-term strategies because if you crush everything he throws at you, you know he's going to apply pressure. You can smooth sail into the late game by just having efficient answers at every step of the way.
Yeah, we talked about it during the match setup, and it looks like Zalae's taking it to heart, just going to go over the top of what we thought was going to happen in this matchup here and go full-on control.
Yeah, this is a beautiful spot for Zalae too. I mean, that dagger that Powder has is on 3-1 right now, so something that this stuck out to me. I don't necessarily think this is the best play, but if he plays Ironbeak Owl and then hits this piloted shredder with a Fiery War Axe, Powder doesn't have a super efficient way to answer that Ironbeak Owl. I know it's just a 2-1, but you don't want to leave minions on the board.
Yeah, you don't want to leave minions on the board, but you also don't want to use a 3-power dagger to take care of an Ironbeak Owl.
Yeah,
there's so many more higher.
I don't want to do anything to take care of an Ironbeak Owl.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many more high density and just great plays that you can do with big powered daggers and stuff. And you're going to see Zalae make the play you actually talked about here.
Love this. Yeah. And then he could even play it slow if he wanted to and just choose to armor up. But the fact that his hand is so strong right now, he just wants to dig deeper into this deck and find the right cards that can start punishing him. And there's always that sort of Zalae flair where you're talking about that he'll love to apply pressure in situations where you won't normally see it. Piloted Shredder in this Warrior deck.
Yeah, love seeing that in here because you have to believe Powder's going to be aggressive or possibly mid-range, and you want to be able to fight him on that axis as well as control the board.
Yeah, so Powder kind of looking at preparation, using prep for one of these Fan of Knives. Couldn't necessarily blame him for that. He's going to hold on to it, use his better sense. And this, I think, is really the first spot where Zalae has had a major decision in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, he could do something like, Sludge Belcher, Shield Slam. He could do something like Piloted Shredder. He's got a ton of different options here. He could even Death Spite. I mean, there's just a bunch of options here. It matters how he wants to play this going forward, how controlling he wants to be, or how aggressive he wants to play.
I like using the Shield Slam here for a couple different reasons. The major one being that you just shield blocked. So if you get this armor shredded away, there's likelihood that that's going to get stranded in your hand. And it also gives you enough tempo to be able to play this Sludge Belcher on curve. You've completely disrupted Powder's early game, and so the fact that he has to actually deal with Sludge Belcher without having a minion out, I think is a big plus for you.
Yeah, and Powder's just going to cycle this Phantom Knives here, taking care of this Iron Beak Owl, the thing you never want to take care of. And he's going to be able to clear away this entire Sludge Belcher here this turn.
This is sort of the disaster situation we've seen from a lot of rogues lately too, is they need a mixture of minions and spells. And they've been able to get pressure on the board, but then once it's been checked, they can't follow it up very well. He doesn't have Sprint in his hand. He's completely out of minions at this point. And Zalae has scaled into the part of the game where he's going to have massive threats at almost every single step.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really hard for Powder to win from here, especially with no minions in his hand. What you need from Rogue is to get a minion to just stick around for a turn. Now,
I mean, he can handle what's happening here.
yeah,
but
he can do a pretty big
you have to
Blade
expend
Flurry
a
this
lot
turn.
of resources to do it. That's really the big problem here.
He's going to backstab the Dr. Boom here and then possibly do a really big Blade Flurry this turn.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think he's going to end up Blade Flurrying this turn. I think he's going to, like, if he leads with Backstab, to me, it looks like Backstab, Eviscerate, Phantom Knives.
Yeah, that's also something he can do, and he might actually be doing that. He's probably going to want to wait. You have to wait on the Tinker Sharpshooter oils here because, again, Zalae's playing Warrior. He's going to be gaining a lot of armor over this game, and you need that huge late game push from this card to deal tons of damage.
Yeah, Blade Flurry and Eviscerate, I think, is also pretty reasonable here. You know, no reason to just waste Tinker Sharpshooter oil to get bigger Blade Flurries. You know, the Sharpshooter oil is going to be worth long-term more damage than this Eviscerate will be. Again, the big problem here is that he's expending a lot of his resources and he's not getting any development out of it. Now he's got 5 cards in his hand and none of them are minions.
Yeah, he does have preparation in his hand, though. If he draws Sprint, he's going to be able to play it for 4 mana and pick up 4 cards.
That is a massive draw for Zalae right now.
Absolutely.
I mean, Powder does not have an efficient way to check this. This is the last minion you want to be sapping in this matchup, and he gets 7 more armor this turn. And he's also now, he's seen a Blade Flurry. One of the poisons is gone. The Eviscerates are gone. Like, how does Powder reach him this game?
It's going to be very, very hard for Powder to win from here. What he's going to need is he's going to need to stick a minion to the board like this Pilot Shredder, have it stick around for a couple turns, and have Tinker Sharpshooter oil do a ton of work. But if you look at Zalae's hand here, that doesn't seem like a prospect of something that's going to really happen this game.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening either. And you know, maybe even preparation and Sharpshooter here. Just wants to get the Phantom Knives out of the way so that way the shield main is directly checking this.
God, Lotheb is a great card in this matchup too.
Zalae continues. You know, Lotheb isn't something that's always found in Control Warrior, but this is a really big nod to the way that Zalae wants to hunt for windows of opportunity to try to close things out. So, you know, Lotheb can throw a big wrench into people's game plans and keep them from making those big pushes. So since he's playing a defensive deck here, the big push that he would be making is just trying to strand something in your hand while he reestablishes control. Love this choice from him.
Yeah, it's a huge tempo play, especially in this matchup. Lotheb is just honestly backbreaking to the Rogue deck almost every single time you play it. A lot of times they can't even play any of the cards in their hand after you play the Lotheb.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the fact that he has Lotheb in his hand, this might be just a turn where he develops multiple threats and just pushes.
Yeah, like Lotheb, Pilot Shredder, attack you for 5.
Yeah, Deathbite, though, also a very reasonable answer. Still has plenty of life total to leverage in this matchup. You know, not been too concerned with it altogether. Mana Addict, that's something that you are going to want to deal with.
Yeah, you need to kill that immediately.
Yeah.
If you let that sit around for a Rogue player, they can actually do something kind of like a Frothing Berserker turn out of a Grim Patron.
Yeah, deck. So that's a card, you know, not very good to actually play in your deck because it gets killed so easily. But in this spot, I have to fully expect that Zalae is going to do some sort of investment into this and just going to use his 5/4 to take it out.
Yeah, even after playing Lotheb, for sure, yeah.
Second preparation, there's literally no action here from Powder this turn. I mean, he could backstab if he wanted to, but this is dire straits.
This is the nightmare scenario for Powder. He has nothing going on, and that Lotheb was actually backbreaking. He's just going to dagger up and pass. He can barely play any of the cards in his hand. Zalae just working on all cylinders here, and man, he's got a ton of damage here this turn. He's got 14. He could do more. The Cruel Taskmaster, he really wants to be even more aggressive and deal 16 since he has a Death Spite behind that. He can develop another Pilot Shredder and continue to armor up this turn. Everything going Zalae's way.
Yeah, I'd venture to say there's a chance he doesn't even add a threat to the board this turn, just armors up and passes. I mean, your opponent just did nothing and passed. You don't have to do anything. You just tack him for 10 and pass.
Yeah, that's also very, very possible. I mean, there's a chance he's going to make this Piloted Shredder into play here and just armor up. It's kind of hard to pass up playing it here, but yeah, I mean, I guess you could be kind of worried about him having a huge Blade Flurry turn of attacking the Pilot Shredder and Blade Flurrying behind that, but then he's going to be taking 4 and going down to 7, and you have a Death Spite plus another Death Spite in your hand.
Or just something even as minimal as the Pilot Shredder spitting out a Doomsayer and it clearing his whole board. What risk does he need to take at this point?
I agree with you there. And he's gonna agree with you as well. There's no reason to even take this risk. I think there's merits to both lines of play, but I think the safe play is probably better here.
Yeah, so you're seeing Zalae also, part of that mana utilization number is that he at times can be extremely patient with stuff, and this turn is a beautiful illustration of that. I love that he chose to actually not do anything.
Yeah, I love that as well. That was actually a really, really great play from Zalae here. Now, this Blade Flurry is going to be pretty good for Powder to clear all of Zalae's board and give him a 4-1 Blood Mage Thanos.
Yeah, the problem with this is that You know,
it just gets killed by the Death's Rattle from the Death Bite.
He's at 11 points of health, and the Sludge Belcher even going to get added behind this. I mean, this is pretty much the end of the game at this point. Piloted Shredder and Sludge Belcher both going to be added to the board. Powder completely out of minions, only has a sap left, doesn't have any way to reload his hand. These next two draws for him are critical if he's going to get back into
both
this
of
game.
These minions are going to be lethal with the Death's Bite behind it for Zalae here.
Yeah, Powder's going to have to check a lot of stuff. You know, maybe SI7 agent can actually get something done here, you know, extend the game for a turn or so, sprint a pretty good draw. I mean, you might see the makings of a little bit of a comeback here, you know. Say he stays this pressure off for a turn and Zalae gets a little bit aggressive with that Death Bite, and then Powder heals back up with like an antique heal bot or something, say.
Oh, this was an interesting turn for Powder. He just got a lot of stuff added to his hand that's going to be very good going forward. He is under a ton of pressure. He needs to deal with this board, though. I don't know if he's going to have enough time and mana to take care of all this from Zalae, though.
Yeah, this is really tough. Zalae is actually pretty low on cards too here, so this is not the end of the game here. He is at 7, but you know Zalae doesn't have a way to actually kill him once both of these minions are dealt with, and since he has 2 saps, he has a way to do that.
Yeah, I think Powder's trying to figure out how can he advance his board as much while still, you know, sapping and living here. I think, yeah, you're going to see. If he does anti-heal bot here, he's probably going to have to prep and sap one of these minions. He can't just let both of them sit around.
I'm very surprised by this play right now. Trying to make use of his life total, though, like letting Zalae go ahead and attack him and see what's going to get done here. So, you know, it's kind of strange now that this anti-heal bot is, you know, in very high tension with this Piloted Shredder right now. Sylvanas gets added to hand. That's not the most important minion at the moment. And Zalae, once again, going to go back into the tank and figure out how he should tackle this turn. I mean, you may see an execute here.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things Zalae can do here. He can Cruel Taskmaster plus, execute, get in 4 points of damage, and then sit behind the Sludge Belcher and have lethal the next turn with Death Bite and some of his minions that are already in play, and armor up maybe. There's all kinds of things he can do, but you're just going to see him get really aggressive with this Death Bite here.
He's going to use his Death Bite to take care of this, and then Sludge Belcher behind it. You know, don't mind that he's using his life total either. Again, he's seen a lot of damage from Powder.
Yeah.
So the
Powder doesn't have a lot of reach left in his deck.
Just play very efficient, and it's difficult to lose from that point. Sousy deckhand. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 damage that Powder can deal this turn.
That was one of the reach cards that he actually had left here, because he could sap the Sludge Belcher and have a huge Sousy deckhand with his Tinker Sharpsword Oil. Plus, he's got SI Agent to get a few more points in. Is he out of Eviscerates? Have we seen both?
Yeah, both Eviscerates have been used. This is the second sap here this turn. I mean, this is a very, very difficult one to balance here.
Yeah, I mean, he could still
because he has to handle the pressure too.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Ignore it.
He has to handle the pressure and he has to apply his own. Yeah, he's going to sprint here.
His first one. Earthring Farseer actually pretty darn good in this situation. Second backstab also picked up. I mean, he heals himself to 14, and he's once again out of the range that Zalae can deal to him, and Zalae's going to want to have... Zalae is going to feel like he has to take care of that Earthring Farseer.
Yeah, heads up play here from Powder too, backstabbing.
Oh, wow. He is going to take a little bit of a risk here. If a 4-power minion came out of this Piloted Shredder, he actually would just die this turn. But, you know...
if Millhouse Manastorm shows up?
Or like One-Eyed Cheat, or Succubus comes out, and 2-1 comes out instead, he's going to backstab onto the Sludge Belcher.
He's going to be able to challenge the Sludge Belcher here with this SI Agent.
Yeah, love the way this game has been panning out. Man, this is Powder has been fighting so hard.
Oh, Powder actually has lethal here, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 of Cruel Taskmaster. Yeah.
Oh, it's like the extra damage on the Cruel Taskmaster is going to be the lethal damage here. I completely missed it. I was always looking at that card and going, this card activates Grommash. But it's just going to be 2 extra damage here. That's going to do it. Wow, back and forth game. Powder, you know, by this... trying to hang on and claw back in this game with everything he had, but it was those couple of turns where he didn't have a minion and didn't have any way to push and didn't have any way to draw cards that ended up being a major difference in that game. Zalae very patient in that regard, able to close it out. Yeah, what you saw here is one person executing their game plan and the other person never really getting to. Zalae playing Control Warrior took care of everything that Powder put on the board, never left him a minion to really get anything going. When you're playing that rogue deck, you want to have a minion kind of sit on that board for a turn or two, really take advantage of your Tinker Sharps and Oils and get in tons of damage that way. Zalae never let him do that and got the win here in game 1. Yeah, and then that's also a very dangerous matchup for Powder as well. I mean, that rogue deck relies on very thin edges to get the job done. You know, you're looking to push damage as you're disrupting the board, but against a deck that has a 5/5 that also gains you 5 armor and also has a 3-mana spell that gains 5 armor and then a hero power that gains armor, it's like that's one of the difficult situations to be in, because then they also have very efficient answers to your early minions with Fiery War Axe and Death Bite.
Yeah, this is the actual nightmare matchup. Great opening hand from Zalae, understanding what he needed to do. He kept his life total as high as possible through the whole game. Powder never really got through it.
Yeah, if you guys want to check out the full game for yourself and see how these players have historically played in their past, you can head over to pvplive.net and see it all for yourself. Recaps, stats, breakdowns, everything that you want to know about their competitive Hearthstone's career is available on the website. So Zalae jumps out to a 1-0 lead here over Powder, and they're both now making adjustments to their decks so that way they can be picture perfect for game 2. When we come back, that second game is going to be getting underway. Don't go anywhere, guys. You're watching Hearthstone on PvP Live.